Am I the a-hole for calling my sister-in-law cruel for excluding her brother, my husband, from her upcoming wedding? My husband, 32, grew up with one sibling, his sister, 28. Their parents separated, and because of that, they drifted apart because each one of them chose one parent to stay with. He had a rocky relationship with sister-in-law growing up as a result, but later got to work out their differences. My husband is a jokester. Sister-in-law complains about being on the receiving end of his pranks and jokes whenever they spent time together. She claimed that because of him, she lost her high school friends, her high school sweetheart, and lots of self-esteem because his pranks wore her down emotionally and mentally. Now they're in a better place, but old habits die hard, and my husband is still the jokester he was years ago. Sister-in-law got engaged 2 months ago and invited my husband and me. Unfortunately, my husband decided it was a good time to pull a prank on her during the party and lied about her fiancé's brother having an accident that night. He was joking, of course, but things got out of hands and the party got cancelled. My sister-in-law yelled at my husband and hasn't been speaking to him ever since. Now her wedding is coming up, but she hasn't yet sent her brother an invite. Seeing him sad and depressed made me call her to ask what the deal was. She bluntly said she wasn't going to send him an invite to her wedding after he ruined her engagement party, but I thought that was excessive. First of all, it was a prank, a regular one that he pulls all the time, and she and everyone else reacted over the top. And besides, he already apologized multiple times, and in my opinion, that should be enough for him to be granted some grace and forgiveness. She said sorry, but she wasn't going to take a risk and invite him so he'd ruin her wedding. And besides that, her fiancé does not feel comfortable having him there, and she agreed with him. I was stunned and called her cruel, because this is her brother, and he never had malicious intentions towards her. Yet she keeps getting offended and oversensitive over everything he does, and at the end of the day, they're family. She asked that I respect her choice, but I said that is not okay seeing how sad her brother is because he doesn't want to miss her wedding. She ended the call after saying she owes no one nothing. I found that real harsh and cruel, and felt like she keeps punishing him over something that was in the past. My husband started crying when I told him about it, but there were actually some family members agreeing with her decision and telling me off for defending my husband's horrid attitude. Am I the a-hole for telling my female 28 fiancé male 27 to drop his groomswoman? My fiancé Ben and I met at work. We worked for a tech company where I handled office management stuff, and he was part of the customer support team. His best friend James worked here too, and also a woman, Alex. Before Ben and I started dating, he and James and Alex became a friendship group. The three of them liked a lot of the same hobbies and stuff, and James and Alex encouraged Ben to get training and move from customer support to being a developer like them. When Ben's apartment flooded, he lived with Alex, and even after he moved out, he still hung out there a ton. When Ben and I started dating, I still wasn't bothered by the friendship too much, because it mostly revolved around activities that I wasn't specially interested in, and Alex always seemed supportive of us as a couple. She was also the only woman at the place that worked on the actual tech side of things and not in the office, so it made sense that guys were the only work friends she could have. She and I did try to get together more once Ben and I were a couple, but it kind of trailed off because we just didn't have a lot in common, and it felt like we were trying too hard. I never got the impression she didn't like me or was jealous or whatever, just kind of two different people. Anyway, Ben and I finally got engaged, and we were talking about our bridesmaid and groomsmen choices, and he kind of threw me a curveball and said he wanted Alex as one of his groomswomen. I thought he was kidding and laughed, but he was dead serious, and is including her in all of the bachelor party activities and things as well. It seemed a little odd to me, but I shrugged it off. But then I was in the kitchen the other day while Ben was in the other room at his computer chatting with James and gaming. James asked if Alex was going to be wearing a dress or a suit for the wedding, and Ben said a suit, to which James replied, "She'll be the hottest guy there." Then Ben replied with, "Probably the hottest girl too." Yes, Alex is attractive, she's really tall and stereotypically hot. They laughed, so I wasn't mad quite yet, just chalking it up to stupid banter. Then James said, "For a second there, I thought you two might start dating." And my fiancé came back with, "Yeah, I could never land a girl like that." I sat there in the kitchen totally gobsmacked. Like, how do you not feel like the runner-up? Later, when Ben was done gaming and we were sitting down to eat, I told him I was no longer comfortable with Alex being in the wedding, and he would have to drop her as part of his party. A huge fight ensued, and I told him what I overheard, and he said it was just talk, and he and Alex never dated or had a physical relationship, so I needed to get over it. I feel like I never want to see this person again, especially on my wedding day. But at the same time, I know she has been one of Ben's best friends since before he and I knew each other or were a couple. So am I overreacting? Edited to add. Just to be clear, I don't have any problem with Alex as a person, and I'm not mad at her or blaming her. I just don't want a reminder of what Ben said standing up at the altar while I'm getting married. As far as the marriage itself, the situation is less than 48 hours old at this point, so even continuing with the wedding may not be what happens. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend her boyfriend is not allowed at my wedding? Anyway, I'm supposed to be getting married early October 2022. It's not going to be a big wedding or anything, but me and my fiancé both have friends that we don't want to leave out. I have this friend, Amanda. We have known each other since high school and we aren't incredibly close by any means, but we are still somewhat good friends and hang out regularly, and I would like her to be there. The problem is, I just recently found out who she is dating now, and she wants to bring him as her plus one. My sister Lily and her ex Steve broke up about 10 months ago because she found out he was cheating. She was heartbroken, and I know along with that pain she still has a lot of resentment for him, and doesn't even like hearing his name. He was an awful boyfriend, so my family has no problem with him no longer being in our lives. Then 8 months ago, Amanda told me she had started talking to someone and she really liked him and everything. She wouldn't tell me who, not even his name, because she said she didn't want to share anything about him till it got more serious. I didn't really understand his secrecy, but it didn't force her to tell me anything, and just let her know I was happy for her and hope it all worked out. Well, last week she told me she was dating Steve. They had gotten more serious, and she wanted to make their relationship public to the people they care about. She also said she knew how much I disliked him and what he had done to my sister, and hoped I would try to understand their love and be happy for her and try to see him in a different light. I was a little shocked at first, since I really didn't expect her to be with a guy like him, and she knew what kind of person and boyfriend he was. But it isn't my place, and I told her that I'm happy she's happy, and that was that. Well, 2 days later, we are texting about the wedding and everything, and she mentioned Steve being her plus one. I do not want him there. Not only because I know my sister, who's my maid of honor, doesn't want him there, but also because I don't like him and neither does my fiancé. I immediately told her that Steve was not invited to the wedding. She was confused, and I explained to her that I was sorry and I'm happy for her, but I didn't want him there. At first, she thought it was just because my sister would be, and kept saying that they wouldn't even be near each other and it would be fine. But then I explained that with everything that happened, we didn't want him there. I said sorry again, but she kept saying how I don't want her to be happy, how I just want to live in the past, how I want to punish her for finding love, stuff like that. None of that is true, and I tried to tell her that, but she stopped responding. So now I'm left feeling like a complete a-hole, and I don't know if I should just let Steve come or not. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my fiancé money for his habit? Me, 27 female, and my fiancé, 28 male, have been going through some financial and marital struggles. I've been at my job for 2 years, and my income is a pretty good amount. Fiancé, let's call him Tyler, works a minimum wage fast food job. I've never brought up the income difference to him, mainly because it doesn't really matter who the breadwinner is and he loves his job. Recently, over the course of 4 months, he has been spending well above his means, including some of my paychecks and even savings. I have 2 car payments, insurances, bills, etc., which does help with bills, but not the cars because I believe they are my vehicles, my responsibility. We live in a state where weed is legal, and that's where most of the money is going. I've tried keeping us afloat to no avail. I've begged him to cut down on how much he buys, and he always says he will, but never does. We've had multiple arguments regarding this. So far, we've had to move due to not being able to afford the rent due to said spending habits. So we decided mutually it would be beneficial to move back in with our parents as to save money. I finally put my foot down when we lost our home. and told him I was separating finances at Access and that I would no longer be helping support his habit. He also recently lost his job due to his habit and not wanting to go to work, so he's no longer contributing. He's been begging me for money for his habit, and I told him no. He called me a selfish a-hole, went on about how I always brag about my pay, which I've never done due to wanting to stay humble. I didn't come from much, and I'm trying to build a better life than what I had, and said that he needed money for food, gas, etc. Now, I have no problem helping him with necessary things as such, but I know that whatever money I give him will go to his habit. I feel bad for not giving him anything, and I'm wondering if I'm the a-hole because what if he really does need it for said necessities? But I've given him money to past for that and it went to his habit. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for requesting my best friend be at the birth of my child instead of my husband? So I, 25 female, have been best friends with Eric, 25 male, since we started kindergarten. He was there throughout everything, even spied from the next table when me and my 26 male husband went on our first date, and I did the same when he started dating his wife. I was the first person he called when his wife found out she was pregnant both times, and even while she was in labor, I helped him by text. So April, when I suspected I was pregnant, he was with me when I read the results of my test, even helped me plan a cute way to tell my husband. We have been each other's rock, and I couldn't think of anyone better than him and my husband to be there while I'm in labor. But unfortunately, if things keep happening the way they do, I'll be only able to have one person in the room with me, and that person will be Eric. He was on board, and I planned to tell my husband when I knew for sure. At the moment, it's normal rules, but obviously things can change over a bug issue at any time. But Eric's wife found out and showed up at my house, screaming for a paternity test because she believes the baby's his. It's 1000% not. My husband was in shock and told me he's sick of third-wheeling our relationship, then packed a bag then left. Eric also sent me a text saying he wants to be with me when I go into labor, and he will be limiting our contact from now on. I'm honestly in shock at the events and have gotten so much hate. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my parents to be anything more than guests in my wedding? I, 27 female, am the only child of an only child, my mom, and a son of a single woman, my dad, and we are firmly middle class. When I was 8, my aunt, her husband, and my nana were in a fatal car accident. As a result, my cousins, 6 male triplets, were taken in by my parents. Up until then, my mom was a teacher, but with the kids and all they needed, intensive therapy and constant reassurance, she quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom. My dad got a small inheritance from my nana that he used to pay off the house. As for my aunt's life insurance and her husband's, they were split into 3 and put in college funds for my cousins. From ages 8 to 13, my parents were too focused on my cousins that they forgot they had a daughter, and the money was so tight that I had to quit all of my hobbies, because my cousins' hobbies were expensive and that they needed to make sure that they maintained the same standard of living for them. At 13, my maternal grandparents sat me down. They said that my parents drained my college fund, and that they were threatened by my parents of no contact if they tell me, but that I was old enough to keep the secret. They also said that they will be giving me what they could when I go to college. I guess that was it for me. I stopped seeing my parents as anything more than an egg and sperm donor at the point. Fast forward to when my cousins started going to college, and I guess my parents remembered that they had a kid, but I wasn't interested in having a relationship with them beyond an occasional phone call. Now I am about to get married. I asked my grandpa to walk me down the aisle and my grandma to take on the traditional mother of the bride role for me. Then, because I'm direct like that, I handed my parents their invites in person and told them that they are welcome only as guests or not at all. They got angry, and when they asked why, I just laid it out on them. And now they're trying to apologize, but it is too little too late for me. My cousins contacted me trying to make me take it back, offered me what was left in their college fund since they didn't know that I didn't have one, to make it fair. I refused, of course. It's more the emotional neglect that hurts, not the money. But a friend said that I was too harsh, that I should forgive and forget. So am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she has always had it easy? Me, 25 female, and my sister, 25 female, were very close when we were young, but things changed when our father passed away and our mother had to raise us alone. She, according to me, has always favored my sister over me. It wasn't blatant favoritism, she still cared for me and loved me, but my sister was allowed to go to school dances, dye her hair, wear expensive makeup, buy expensive dresses, things which I wasn't allowed to do. My sister changed, and during middle school she became the popular girl, while I was the nerd. She often ridiculed me during school and I complained to my mother about this. She comforted me but never really did anything about the situation. All of this built up resentment for my sister inside me. Every day when I went to school, I had to face her torment. However, I convinced myself that what she was doing right now didn't matter, that I would end up happier in life because I worked way harder than she did and would end up successful. I got into my dream college after school, and my mother was really happy for me. But at the same time, my sister had failed in some of her subjects and had to repeat the year, so my mom didn't want to go out for dinner to celebrate since it would upset my sister. Fast forward a couple of years, and my sister is getting married to a very rich man. I was very happy for her and attended her wedding. I had a job and was doing pretty good for myself financially, but was under a lot of stress due to high working hours. While I was talking to my sister, she said to me and her friends how sad it must be for me to have worked so hard for all those years and still be so unhappy with my life, while she was enjoying hers. She told me that I should have worked smart like her instead of working hard. I got very angry at her and told her that failing school and then deciding to drop out of college was not working smart, and that not everyone was as lucky as her to be born with a pretty face and get married to a rich guy they met on Tinder, even though she herself was a loser. After that, I left. Later, I got a call from my mom telling me that my sister started crying after what I said to her, and that it ruined my sister's special day due to my jealousy. She told me not to show my face to her before I was ready to apologize. What my mom said was definitely true. My mom's subtle favoritism towards her popularity in school, the fact that she has a husband and I'm lonely, and the fact that I have to work hard all my life and still work 12 hours a day to earn money, while she gets served everything on a silver platter while sitting at home, has made me very jealous of her. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that I can't wait to move out and leave her with my siblings? This post might run long, but there's some backstory required. So I, female 25, currently live with my parents along with my siblings, female 26 and male 23. None of us pay rent because my parents want us to save up. Both my sister and I have full-time jobs after going to university and have stable careers. My brother was spoiled since he was young and dropped out of college twice and currently works with my dad, meaning he goes to work when he feels like it, once a week and for 1 hour. Other than that, he doesn't do anything in the house and sleeps all day, and neither does my sister. Alongside my mom, I cook and clean for them, since I know how to as I was the only one who moved out for college. My mom or dad don't force them to do anything, so they don't. They don't know how to cook or clean. They also have no plans to move out, whereas I do once I save enough money. I keep trying to tell my parents that they need to force my sister and brother to grow up, and that they can't be so reliant on them for basic necessities that an adult should be able to do for themselves. But my parents are adamant that it's fine. Here's where it got really bad. I was in a work meeting and I was stressed out, and my parents asked me to make dinner for my siblings. And I said I couldn't and that my siblings can easily get dinner started. She said no because my brother was sleeping at 6 p.m. and my sister was at home. I said this is getting too ridiculous and that I can't wait to move out so that my parents can deal with their adult children alone. I told them to not come whine to me when my siblings are 40 and still living at home. I feel terrible because my parents do a lot for me too, but I feel like the Cinderella of this story. And I feel taken for granted because I know how to survive as an adult. Am I the a-hole for asking my son on my parents' behalf to stop speaking his native language? I am originally from Egypt, but moved to Sweden after I unintentionally became pregnant while on vacation several years back. My parents were enraged at the news, since I wasn't married to the father of my child, so I decided to separate from them and move to Sweden and married my husband. We now have a son, 15, and our cat. I recently convinced my husband and son to move to Egypt, and things have been a little rough. Our son has been fighting me left and right. One of the main reasons I wanted to move back was because my parents and I have made peace, but they do not want any Swedish spoken in their presence as it isn't their language. My son knows Arabic as a second language, but he refuses to speak it when he doesn't have to, instead speaking in Swedish for most of the time. My parents have told me they don't like it, and I don't like it either. I find it disrespectful and I feel like Sweden isn't part of our lives anymore. So I asked my son if he could stop speaking the language, at least not constantly. He called me Nahal and hasn't spoken to me. I don't want to involve my husband because he's been very stressed lately. I hope someone sees my point of view.
Me, 28 female, with my boyfriend, 29 male, of 3 years. His parents want to see my bank statements. I have been with my boyfriend for 3 years, living together for 2. My boyfriend has always been very close to his family. They live not that far away and he has never lived anywhere but New York City where he was born and raised. therefore always had his parents close by and spends time with them regularly. Therefore, I didn't see anything odd at first about how close he is to his parents and assumed it was normal. However, since we moved in together, there were red flags regarding his parents. Some examples. There is a coin-operated laundromat half a block away from our apartment, but he insists on getting his clothes packed, carries them on a 30-minute one-way subway ride all the way to his parents to have it washed. I thought this was weird, but hey, his clothes, his time, his subway fare. He also shares a bank account with his parents. His parents pore over his financials regularly and once chewed him out over spending too much money on ordering pizza. I found this kind of odd, but as we keep our finances separate, this didn't affect me, so I let it slide. On a camping trip with his family, a mosquito entered our tent, and I tried multiple times to slap it in between my hands. Immediately, his mom and dad barged into our tent, yelling and demanding to know why I was slapping my boyfriend. I was utterly confused and told them that I was slapping a mosquito. In fact, the mosquito was still buzzing around the tent. My boyfriend backed me up, but his parents thought that he was covering up for me, and since then, they have disliked and mistrusted me. When I got a promotion, they called my place of work to see if I was telling the truth about working there and my promotion. This I found utterly insane and embarrassing me at my workplace. However, my boyfriend stood up for me again, and therefore I didn't think it was right to dump him for his parents' insanity. Despite my boyfriend sticking up for me and telling the truth to his parents in both these instances, they continued mistrusting me. I started not wanting to go to many of their family events after these ridiculous episodes, which my boyfriend said he understood and never pressured me into going. I make more money than my boyfriend, so I asked him if we could move to a better neighborhood and I will pay a bigger portion of the rent to cover this, and he would be paying the same amount he currently pays. He got extremely upset that he couldn't pull his weight, but I told him that I don't mind paying more so that we can live in a safer area. I chalked this to how men are shamed in the media if they're seen as not good providers, blah blah, and assumed he was just insecure about it. However, when he discussed this with his parents, they accused me of hiding a source of income. No, I have a regular old boring marketing job, and being involved with unsavory activities, or that I am lying about something and hiding things. I was utterly confused. My boyfriend doesn't believe any of their BS and again stood up for me. However, crap soon hit the fan. His parents are now demanding to see my bank statements to prove to them that everything is on the up and up. My boyfriend knows that I have nothing to hide, so he said that I should just do it to shut them up so that they'd stop with the drama. However, I think this is a huge violation of my privacy. Why should I have to justify myself to them when I have done nothing wrong? And what right do they have to the details of my finances? If I give in, what else will I be expected to do to satisfy their insanity? At the same time, it's not my boyfriend's fault that he was born into that crazy family, and he has stood up for me every time, and I don't want to break up with him over something that he didn't do. Still, his parents are driving me up the wall and stressing me out. What should I do?